July 10, 1890. Wyoming joins. Wyoming was admitted as the 44th state of the United States. This event was significant not only for the expansion of American territory, but also for its political, social, and legal contributions to the nation's history. Located in the Mountain West region, Wyoming was the first state to grant women the right to vote, a policy first established during its territorial days. Its statehood solidified this progressive position, making it a crucial milestone in the advancement of women's suffrage in the United States. Wyoming Territory was established in 1868, formed from parts of the Dakota, Utah, and Idaho territories. The area was sparsely populated, characterized by a harsh climate, expansive plains, and rugged mountain ranges. The development of the Union Pacific Railroad played a central role in its growth, encouraging migration and the expansion of settlements. The territory was heavily influenced by the mining industry, ranching, and the presence of indigenous nations, including the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Shoshone peoples. Conflicts with native tribes persisted throughout the late 19th century as white settlers expanded into indigenous lands. The push for statehood began in the late 1880s as Wyoming's population grew and its political institutions matured. One of the key legislative actions taken by the territory was the passage of the 1869 Act granting women the right to vote and hold public office. When Wyoming sought admission to the Union, some members of Congress opposed statehood on the grounds that women's suffrage was too radical. However, Wyoming's leaders refused to abandon this policy. The territorial legislature even declared that Wyoming would remain out of the Union for a century rather than join without women's voting rights. Congress ultimately accepted the state with its suffrage laws intact, setting a national precedent. The admission of Wyoming reinforced the federal government's commitment to expanding westward, even in regions with sparse populations. At the time of statehood, Wyoming had fewer than 63,000 residents, far below the population of earlier states. Its acceptance reflected the changing criteria for state admission in the late 19th century, prioritizing political alignment and territorial organization over demographic size. Wyoming's entry followed the admissions of North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington in 1889, marking a period of rapid state expansion in the western United States. Wyoming's political structure was based on Republican ideals common in western territories. The state's first governor was Francis E. Warren, who had previously served as territorial governor and would later represent Wyoming in the United States Senate. The state constitution, ratified in 1889, retained the territory's commitment to equal political rights for women and emphasized public education, water rights, and the regulation of corporations, especially railroads. These legal foundations reflected the priorities of a state shaped by frontier conditions and economic dependencies on extractive industries. The significance of Wyoming's statehood also extends to its role in the broader suffrage movement. Although other states would eventually follow Wyoming's example, it remained the only state to have continuously supported full voting rights for women from its founding. This status gave it the nickname the Equality State, which it still holds today. Wyoming women served on juries, held political office, and participated in civic life decades before the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920. Esther Hobart Morris, often recognized as the first female justice of the peace in the United States, became a symbol of Wyoming's commitment to gender equality in law. Wyoming's admission into the Union in 1890 was a landmark in American political history. It reflected the national drive to integrate Western territories into the federal system, even those with small populations and unique legal frameworks. It affirmed the principle that states could define progressive social policies without federal interference. Wyoming's early embrace of women's suffrage and its insistence on including that principle in its state constitution marked a turning point in the national debate over gender and voting rights. The legacy of this decision endures in the state's political identity and its place in the history of American democracy. For enthusiasts of historical ephemera, visit history-collectors.com to find collectibles that might complement your collection. You can own a piece of history.